everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute since I last posted, but I have something for you that I'm very excited about. Do you guys remember the 1899 series that came out in already 2022? That was quite a different time. And ever since I saw the earrings of Clemence, the French lady who's on the ship with all the other characters, ever since this came out, I have found out that my favorite genre of series is actually sci-fi, Victorian 1890s mashups, just like the newly released series Bodies on Netflix, which I'm not sponsored to mention, by the way. And what both series have in common is that they end with a cliffhanger and they might get cancelled after the first season. But we shall see what happens to the series Bodies. Enough about that. I really wanted to make these earrings just like they were in the series, and I used all the reference pictures I could find on the internet. And as you may see in the rest of the video, this project is highly powered by my father, who was so kind to help me with all the very technical things that needed to be done, because there's a lot of small metal working. Just be sure not to breathe in the fumes of the soldering like I did. Gave me massive headaches during this project. Just a small disclaimer about this video that the production value is a bit lower than usual and it has major home video vibes, but this is because I was filming a lot at my parents' house and my battery died so many times on my camera that it just resorted to my phone. So I hope you still enjoy it and let's get started. For the epoxy gems I used all-round epoxy. I also got some red coloring that you will not need later because the color was really wrong, and I got these two molds from the internet. Make sure to measure everything carefully, as this is very important for the hardening process. And I tell you this because I didn't. But we just tried again, and this time we used the proper proportions. And look at the difference the right proportions make. They are very clear, very strong, and I was super happy with how they came out. As I already mentioned earlier, I was not happy with the Bordeaux red I used before, so I actually tried out some Bordeaux red nail polish, which actually worked very nicely. I applied it to the back of the epoxy gems, and then to the front I applied some clear nail polish, because this would give them the shine that I wanted. For the next time, however, I might think about doing this later, as I was still filing down a lot of the gems later and that made the nail polish go ugly. Which resulted in me applying nail polish a million of times during this project. To make the gems fitting to the metal circles we bought for them, I filed down the sides so I could kind of click them in. We plundered the local bead shop and we got two types of chains, one simple and one with like beads in between. Then two types of rings and also earring holders. And also two types of brass rods. We snapped off the little rings from the earring studs and started making all the small metal parts. Soldering was my best friend during this project, and luckily my dad was very skilled at that and had the patience to teach me some. We gridded out the triangle to make assembly easier. And don't forget, while doing this, do not breathe in the fumes. Those are quite bad for you, and I tried this a couple of times and it gave me massive headaches, so don't try that at home. You probably already saw that the triangle was not quite even, so we fixed that later on a machine. Here you see the design kind of laid out and me trying to cut some metal rods with my super hand strength. The design was actually coming along nicely, but after each step of soldering we had to clean it up, and we did this by filing and filing away. And sometimes by hand was not enough, so luckily my dad had some really nice tools laying around that we could use. Then we soldered the gem holders onto the metal rods that would later hang from the triangle and from up the triangle. Quickly we discovered that the rings we had meant for the lower gems actually couldn't be soldered, so we made our own rings with a thicker wire. They turned out like this, and then I cleaned up the edges so we could connect them properly. Then first we torched them, so it was more malleable to make it into a nice ring. Ta-da! We hurriedly tried to solder them to the earrings, and this was actually quite a tricky part, because you had to solder a really small space to the ring and hope that it connected properly. Here you can see all the dimensions of the end product. And now time for some chains, which I completely eyeballed. When all the separate parts were ready, I assembled everything with super glue. And I took them for a small test fit. And then it was time for the reveal. I am super happy with how they turned out. I think the gems actually look quite gemmy. And although they're a bit too long, I'm super proud we pulled it off. And last but not least, a really cool Photoshop surprise. Thank you, Reddit! So that was it for this project. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to see if you attempt this project as well. Just make sure you make it a tiny bit smaller, because we actually made it a bit too big, because we kind of referenced all the metallic pieces to the epoxy pieces we had. So the finished project is a bit longer than what the actress wears in the actual series. But if you do make them, I would love to see. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, tell your neighbor, tell your cat, and I really hope to see you guys in my next video, which, small spoiler, will probably involve this pretty dress. But on that, more in a later video. Okay, bye bye!